Vote Quimby. Looking for a good time, sailor? I certainly am. He's not. He's really not. Hey, this TV's not broken. It's just not plugged in. We have a gentleman caller, my precious, precious gun. Open wide for some soccer! That's right, everyone. We're back at the Sports Experience podcast. We're not talking about an NRA meeting. We're talking about a little game of football and one of the best European and most unlikely European teams to ever emerge as champions of the Euro tournament. My name is Dom DiTolla, sitting alongside my co-host Chris Quinn. What's up, man?
Man, doing good. We're going to talk Denmark again. This is part 2. And like you said, one of the most unlikely stories to happen is them winning the 92 Euros. But we're going to get into a little bit of history in this one. This one's going to be like the history experience. So
kind
you
of
guys,
the history experience.
Yeah,
good thing
ready.
I have a degree in that.
I know. That's why when we were prepping for this, I was like, thank God Dom's going to correct all my mistakes.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. I figured, oh man, at like 34, I'll be living in a foreign country after I finish my PhD work. No, I'm just sitting down in a studio talking about sports. And you know what? I made the right decision.
Exactly. Correcting his friend when he's like, and Korea, when they split from Yugoslavia, it's like, not, God damn it, Chris. It's like, no, let me do the history part.
All right, get into it, buddy.
Yeah, we're talking the 92 Euro. So, and we're going to start off with, I guess, just a bunch of history. So the way the Euros happened at this point in Europe, there was a huge change in power. So we see the Soviet Union breaking up.
Yes.
And the Soviet Union actually got into the Euros as, this is the only time they did it. They were a CSI team. So it is, let me see.
CSI, just like the show? No, it's more Soviets.
Yeah. Well, it was their grouping of all these nations that end up breaking up because they realized that they couldn't field a team at that point.
It was like the 92 Olympics with the unified team. That's basically what this is, from what my understanding is.
So they pretty much have it, the best players from all the Soviet Union, which is why, and this is why I wanted to bring this up, which is why back in the day, the Soviet Union was such a strong soccering country with Yugoslavia because they had such a huge pool to draw from.
And like certain states would dominate certain sports. And when I say states, I mean like countries, because I know for basketball, basketball was kind of mixed in Yugoslavia when it was really good as far as where they were drawing talent from, mostly Serbia and Croatia. But like for the Soviet Union for basketball, it was always Lithuania had the best players.
Yes.
And they were able to draw from them.
Yes.
So.
And this is why I'm so angry with the United States and our soccer development was we have the biggest pool and we can't even like get the basic shit together. But that's, you know what? That's for a different podcast. Nope. So we're going to get into Yugoslavia now, which ended up breaking up right before. So
you want to hear a fun history fact right now?
Please, that's what I'm going for.
We're recording on June 26th, 2021. June 27th, 1991, which is actually my birthday, not the year, but the day, for any identity thieves out there. That was when Slovenia was the first one to break away in Yugoslavia. That was the first domino to fall. And, well, we'll get into what happens after.
Well, it starts the Yugoslav Wars, which, and we were talking about before in the podcast, which is some of the worst genocides, which we probably are going to glaze over a little bit because this just isn't the podcast for genocides, people.
I feel like 1991, it's like, you know what's really cool right now? Parachute pants. You know what's even cooler? Murdering your neighbor because they're different from you.
Exactly. But this was the other thing was Yugoslavia was looked at as one of the teams going into this Euro 92 of having a chance of winning.
Yeah.
And then they essentially get barred. They get disqualified because they break up as a country and are having these wars between Bosnia and Croatia. And we could, again, that's another podcast. But so I think it was something like 14 days before the Euros, they were expelled.
Yeah. And I mean, that's a good reason. I mean, I'm sure probably some of those players were put into the military.
Yes.
Conscripted into the military. So it's like,
How
the hell do you field a team?
One of the most appropriate reasons for expelling a team. They're just like, no, you guys are just like murdering people. But
it's not like your midfielder's on cocaine. Let him play,
Damn it, Maradona. But so that's when we see Denmark get a bid, because Denmark actually didn't qualify for this.
Second in the group, yeah.
They were second in the group, and they were given, this is why I love it, they were giving 10 days to submit a squad.
Yeah.
So to put it in perspective, all these guys are on vacation. They're on summer vacation, like they have nothing going on because they didn't qualify for the Euros. Yugoslavia gets barred. They're just like, well, you're in, and then their coach is like, let's put a team together.
Well, their goalie, Peter Schmeichel, was saying, like, a lot of people assumed we were just, like, fat and lazy after not really playing. But from one of the research I had done, the Danish league was actually still kind of going on. So the guys who were playing pro there actually were not, like, necessarily out of shape and, like, not giving a shit.
Well, that's the thing that is so interesting about this, is the Danish league goes a little bit further. It goes a little bit into the summer more than the other leagues. So they were literally coming off of league play, where a lot of the other international guys have this 2-month break.
Well, and it's funny because you think of other sports, and it's usually not the best team that wins in the postseason. It's always the hottest team. It's always the team that's kind of clicking a little bit more. It's like when you see those upsets of teams with first-round buys, particularly in the NFL. They've sapped their starters for 2-3 weeks. They're sitting fallow. And then a team that's been in playoff mode for the last month comes in, and they're like balls to the wall, ready to go. And I kind of see that with Denmark when I had learned that and then watched some of these games.
Yeah, and being the underdog, that's always the position you want to be in. Mm-hmm. And this is a quote from my dad, was, you can ride a hot goaltender all the way to the cup.
Oh, and that's what Schmeichel was in this tournament. Jesus Christ.
Yes, and that's what, if you look back at this Denmark team, because what we were talking about the last episode with the team in 84 and 86 was they were looked at as this, like, amazingly technical, proficient team.
Attacking juggernaut. Swashbuckling football.
This Denmark team in 92 was almost the opposite. But that's where you see winning come, I guess, to the forefront, because their defense was so strong that it wasn't.
And people were pissed, though, because it used to be, we're red, we're white, we're Danish Dynamite, and that is not the case with this team, because I was seeing, like, strategically on this documentary how they set their offense up. It was mostly just to narrow the field and get good chances on counterattacks.
Well, that's the thing, is they almost set their offense up defensively, if that makes sense. And this is why it really worked, was in this era, it was less common for huge amounts of possession. Mm-hmm. So they could take those counterattacks more frequently, and really, if you watch any of the games, they really utilize this system all the way to the finals. They
wait for the other team to make a mistake,
yes,
be out of position, and then start attacking, not just be like up and down the field all the time. Yeah.
So this 92 Euros happened in Sweden. Mm-hmm. Another little history fact, this was right during the reunification of Germany.
Yeah, and let me just have a big shout out to the man that did that. His name is David Hasselhoff.
Oh,
I don't know if you've seen this. Dancing on the Berlin Wall in November of 1989.
You say dancing, I say literally breaking it down with his voice.
Oh, he totally did. I mean, he was looking for freedom. And
he found it.
I feel like if we ever replace the Star-Spangled Banner, it would be Hasselhoff's Looking for Freedom or Rick Derringer's I Am a Real American.
Ooh, I like that.
Coming up on 4th of July next weekend.
Yeah, come on now. Looking for freedom. So, this was back when the Euros was a smaller field.
Yeah, 18. I was kind of surprised with that.
Well, you see these giant nations break up, Soviet Union, Yugoslavia, and you see them being like, well, we have a shitload more nations trying to qualify. We really need to expand the field. So this is the last time that the field was 8 teams.
Thanks a lot, democracy.
Thanks a lot, blue jeans.
McDonald's.
Which, again, leads into the ridiculousness of Denmark even qualifying, because there were so little teams qualifying at this point.
So and it's usually always because Europe has a lot of superpowers for soccer. And Denmark, in a country with 6 million people, which is like the size of Phoenix, that's hard to draw from,
Yeah.
you know? Like,
Yeah. So we get into the two groups, Sweden hosting, Denmark, France, England in Group 1. Group 2, Netherlands, Germany, Scotland, and whatever we're calling Russia at this point.
CIS or CSI.
CSI. That's what I want to call it. That's what.
Who are you? No. Law and Order.
Yeah.
You just go straight to the gulag in that Law and Order.
But that's the thing is there's no real... The way that this tournament was set up, there's no real underdogs. Before with Yugoslavia, it would have been powerhouse, Sweden as host, powerhouse. You know what I mean? So when Denmark comes in, they're almost looked at as an easy team.
Yeah, I saw a quote from one of the players. He said, like, I think the reason we did so well is there were no expectations. If we just went out and basically laid eggs the whole tournament, nobody would have cared or thought twice about it.
Exactly.
But, yeah.
Exactly.
And when all the pressure's off, you can just basically go and play your game.
Yep. And they did. Game 1, they play England 0-0. And that's when, because in this 92 English team, there was thoughts that they were going to win this Euros.
Well, people were talking because they were like in the semifinals of the 1990 World Cup. It said they were missing like their best player at the time, Paul Gascoigne, or I don't know how you pronounce that, but whatever.
But you're right. The first game, people kind of realized like, oh, this Danish team is...
People were saying that they should have won that game.
They definitely should have. That was the thing that was so ridiculous right off the bat. And this is why I love English fans, is they have such high expectations. Too high, if you want my honest opinion. And this is going to reverberate later when I talk about Denmark right now in the 2020 Euros. They end up losing their next game against Sweden.
Yeah, they lose 1-0. And you can kind of tell that they're like a defensive team. But back onto England again, they kind of remind me, they're like the national team for my limited soccer understanding of Uncle Rico. Like they did something good like 50, 60 years ago, and they're just like hanging their hat on that. Hey, everybody. Just want to take a quick break to let you know that our Sports Experience podcast is brought to you by Engle Studio here, and they're here in Tucson for all your recording needs.
And they keep saying shit like, this is going to be our year again, but they don't have a real view of how their team is.
Oh, that's even better.
They literally are just like, I'm going to kick a ball over those mountains.
Sun never sets on the British Empire. Sun always sets on the English national team.
It's so true. So they lose to Sweden, and this is what is so ridiculous is at this point, 1 draw, 1 loss, they're pretty much looked at as a team that's going to go out.
And especially because they're playing France, who was basically picked to win this whole shebang.
Yes.
And they have a good team with that Cantona guy we talked about in the Leeds episode.
Yes. They have Eric Cantona. They have this French kind of momentum going for him, if that makes any sense, because like you could see it now where France fluctuates. So in like the 98 they won
the World Cup that year, didn't they?
And then the next I think it was 2002, they ended up imploding so bad that it's almost like par for the course that France is going to be like the best team, and then they're going to implode, and then they're going to be the best team. So when you run into them in a tourney like this, especially after a tie and a loss, you're like, all right, we're done. Like they're such a powerhouse, but Denmark goes out and actually beats them 2-1. And I want to talk about this guy, Henrik Larsson, which we might even do an episode on Henrik Larsson, because he was like the one of the greatest forward subs ever later in his career.
Nice.
So he played like way late into his age and played for Manchester United and was one of those guys that would come on at like the 70th minute and change games.
But like there's a lot of turmoil leading into this tournament for Denmark, so it's even amazing they make it this far because their best player, Mikael Laudrup, don't know if I'm saying that correctly, he's like a star in Europe. He's arguably the greatest Danish national soccer player that's ever existed. He's, big with Barca. They had won the European Championship in 92.
Yep.
He's just absolutely killing it. He doesn't want to come and play for this team, this defensive-minded team. And his younger brother, Brian Laudrup, is talking about Ricard Muller-Nelson, who is their coach. He said he didn't even respect him as a coach before this tournament. He eventually joins the team and plays, but they're doing it without their best player who's not injured. He's just got better shit to do.
Well, and we talked about this with the last podcast where Danish has all these players who are like top players in Europe, but they almost don't respect their home nation soccering.
Yeah, they're out going for the big dollars and, whatever.
They just don't see the value in, like you were saying, playing this defensive minded. I see it so much as the United States.
Yeah.
That's why I tried to equate it last time to that, like when soccer exploded for us, because I feel like our home league is almost a joke, but we have players that are
more
top
than
professionals.
capable of playing in another team. And I don't see any issue with Mikel Laudrup. I mean, you have to go play this defensive-minded game, and you're in, Barcelona playing for Johan Cruyff, laying your total footballing it up. Like, come on.
And it's one of those things where he might not even have fit into their system, and he might have been wise enough to be like, yeah, I probably won't.
Like, this doesn't work for me.
Yes, exactly.
Like, you can play your system. I just don't fit.
But like we were saying, all these things build up to just being a ridiculous 92 win for Denmark. Like,
yeah,
to think you're going to the Euros without your best player 10 days before it starts, you put a squad together, and
it's like a pickup game.
Yeah.
No.
And we said this in the last one. They're an international team in name, a pub team in nature.
Which is outstanding. Thank you, Carlsberg.
Yes.
But they go into the semifinals because there's only 8 teams, so you're automatically in the semifinals if you advance from the group stage.
Which this group, I want to say this, which is so ridiculous because it was Sweden, Denmark, France, England. Everybody had France and England going through, but Sweden and Denmark go through.
Which is great for
I love
Scandinavia.
it.
And especially the host country when the team does well. I mean, you're getting a lot of fervor and excitement around them.
Exactly. And that's what essentially they want from this, because the smaller nations don't have the footballing, prowess that these bigger nations have, but the fans can lift them.
Take it to another level. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So in the other group, we had Netherlands and Germany going through, and we're going to talk about Germany. I know we brought them up a little in the last one.
The
Germans, which makes a really quick Final Four right off the bat.
Exactly.
So we have Netherlands versus Denmark, Germany versus Sweden, and it's so interesting the way that this tourney kind of laid out. And this is the last time they have this. This is the last time a bunch of the rules were in it. So like back then you could pass the ball back to your goalie.
Yeah,
and
I saw that. Yeah, and Denmark was using that completely legal, by the way, completely legal to kill time once they got a lead and just play defense and just like watch the clock melt because soccer, you don't have timeouts unless, and like the clock just keeps running.
Well, it really kills the flow of the game, and they made that realization after this tourney, because it's almost like when there wasn't a shot clock in basketball and you would just have 2 or 3 guards just passing it up at the top of the key, and it's like that's not what we're here to see.
Well, it's like that Simpsons episode. It's like center, back to fullback, back to wing, back to center holds it.
But yeah, it was this real realization that like that's not the kind of soccer anybody wants to fucking see. But like you were saying with Denmark, it was actually a really good strategy.
Well, what's funny? You brought that up. That rule was in place to change in '93. It was made before this tournament started. It was still illegal. It was grandfathered in because I guess there was a match in the 1990 World Cup between, I think, Northern Ireland and Egypt where that just happened all the time. And that was like the tipping point of everyone going, fuck it, we need to change this shit.
Yes. And that's what the kind of shit I love in sports, where it's almost like the teams force the whatever FIFA's hand. They're just like, we're gonna make you change this rule.
We're going to make this sport even more boring.
Exactly.
for like the United States to watch.
But that's, I mean, it's kind of ridiculous, but it's also kind of true. And that's why, like I was saying, with the shot clock, you're like, yeah, that needs to change right now.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're trying to do that with baseball. They just don't understand how to do it. But
no, they're fucking that up pretty royally, but whatever.
So the semifinals. we get into this absolutely epic game between Denmark and Netherlands.
And the Netherlands had won the 88 Euros.
And they were tipped at this point, especially with France and England going out, they were tipped to go all the way. That was the team that everybody thought, because they were playing this free-flowing football. I don't want to say total football because they kind of weren't, but they were playing this 4-3-3, and they were really the best team on paper.
In those sleek orange jerseys.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. They're the best team on paper, but you come up against Denmark, and they end up tying them 2-2 and going to penalties.
Which was awesome, by the way. Like, I had watched clips from that game, and the Netherlands were just shooting the ball on goal way more often than Denmark was. I mean, Schmeichel was making these amazing saves, or the Dutch were just completely screwing the pooch on these opportunities.
Well, that's what we see is like, you can have all the opportunities in the world, but you have to finish them.
Yeah, you have to get it in. Like, you got to be scoring goals, because most goals wins. It doesn't matter how many shots you take.
Exactly. So they go into penalties.
Which is awesome again. Yeah. Oh, my God, I watched these. Holy shit.
Denmark ends up beating them 5-4, and it was...
Schmeichel came up big, man. On the second shot, right?
Yeah.
What was it, Robin Van Persie?
Persie.
Okay, sorry. I'm
all right.
getting these names wrong.
It was a young Robin Van Persie stepping up. But that's the thing that is so interesting is, like, their whole path to this championship is just all, like, great moments, if that makes sense.
Well, there was a gentleman, he's known as one of the 20th century's greatest philosophers. He had this great saying. It was, if you're going to be the best, you got to beat the best. Woo! Ric Flair, everybody.
Ric Flair.
Nature boy.
So they go up against Germany, who we brought up in the last podcast, which kind of disrespected them in their friendly that they tried to have.
Yeah, I remember you was talking about going into the World Cup. They were sending like a C squad out there.
Yeah.
Like, they basically sent the strip club from Tuesday night out to play them. And a little bit of history between Germany and Denmark. 1864, the Second Schleswig War was fought in northern Germany, southern Denmark, on that peninsula jutting into the Baltic and North Seas. And it wasn't even Germany. Germany hadn't been created. These were the German unification wars of the middle of the 19th century. And the Prussians just absolutely kicked the shit out of them. It was like a moment of national embarrassment for Denmark, a war that never should have been even fought. They basically tried to pick it, and Otto von Bismarck was basically like, oh yeah, we'll take free land. And that's basically what happened, and it's a very sore sticking spot. So you already have that country rivalry in Europe over this.
And Germany wants to hold their soccer supremacy.
Well, they just won. Well, West Germany just won the 1990 World Cup.
And this is, like we said, this is when West Germany becomes Germany. And even though that happens, I don't think they had an East German player for like a decade. So, like,
I believe that
we say it's Germany, but it's really still West Germany at this point. And Denmark has this. It's such a thing that is only in international sports where they have this like pride that they're like, we don't care how much better of a team you are. We're going to go out and win today.
We're going to play our game, and you're going to watch us play our game.
Which is kind of ridiculous because Denmark goes up early in the finals. And I feel like if you were watching that game or if you were at that game, all of these Denmark games, you're just like, again? They're going to do it again? Like, it's such
because that early goal, you're thinking like, okay, well, Germany's going to jump out on them. And it's really what they should have done is just like try and bury them early and take away any confidence. But it's Denmark that does it.
Yep.
And do not give a defensive-minded team a goal out the gate. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, and they can set up shop, and that's pretty much what they do. And like you were saying, they set up shop and just counterattacked.
Yeah, and credit goes to Ricard Muller-Nelson for this strategy against a team like that. And this is one of the games you had said where they're kicking the ball back to the goalie and he's picking it up. And you could see the frustration on all the German players' faces. Like, why is this happening? This is cheating.
Well, that's what's so ridiculous is it really breaks the flow of the game.
Yeah.
And that's why I like that rule being abolished. But you could see Denmark played this tourney with like the best game strategy that you could ever have.
Well, yeah, because all those teams that were like projected to win were like high-flying scoring machines, and it's like, as long as we break the flow up of this game and throw a wrench in all their plans, they're going to get frustrated. We just like can't let them get up on us early, because that was the big criticism for I believe the 1990 or the 1988 Euros, where they just completely shit the bed and lost all their games to, I think, Germany, Italy, and England. I believe.
They were in the group of death, but like you said, they just like.
And in the what was it called? The Euro qualifying against Yugoslavia, people were really pissed at Nelson because they were down 2-0 in that game in Yugoslavia, and they just kept playing that defensive, passive, conservative type of game.
Yeah, because they didn't know anything else. That's the thing that I feel like happens in soccer a lot, is teams kind of have this thought that they shouldn't. I don't even know, like Denmark was a lesser team and they shouldn't have to bow down to them, if that makes sense, and they shouldn't have to change their strategy to work against theirs, which obviously was a mistake.
Well, it's the old Mike Tyson quote, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth.
Oh my God, and Denmark came out, punched Germany in the mouth right away, pretty much took the game to where they wanted it to go, and then 78th minute they closed it out with a second goal.
Yeah, after that second goal, you knew like they're going to keep kicking the ball back to Schmeichel, and he's going to keep picking it up, because now it's over. Yep. I mean, you only play, 90 minutes plus extra time?
Yeah. So, the second goal just killed the game off so much. But for Denmark, it was such an important event.
Yeah, no,
all
I
of
mean,
it.
That's
beating Germany, the 92 Euros after their golden generation.
Exactly. It's almost like when you see a team win a championship maybe 5 years after, like everyone's talking about them being like the best team.
Yep.
You know, like they finally get the title, but it's like in a completely wonky type fashion.
Yeah. And we're recording this while Denmark is playing Wales right now in the current Euros.
You know who's not coaching Wales right now? Ryan Giggs.
Well, he's out there. I'm pretty sure he's in jail.
He's out there plowing some soccer mom right now.
Oh, man. They're called football mums.
Send me pictures of your wife.
Yeah.
Well, and your family.
There you go.
That 17-year-old daughter of yours looks pretty hot. When's her birthday again?
They're playing Wales right now, so I mean that could be happening.
Oh, sweet Jesus!
But this is what I wanted to bring up about the current Euros. Is they're almost on the same trajectory of this crazy run, and because their top star, if someone was just like, hey, who's the top Danish star, I would have said Christian Eriksen. He had a heart attack in the first game.
Yeah,
and
he had a line of Polish sausage in the lining of his heart.
And well, that's the thing is, like in this other Euros, they tied the first game. They ended up tying the second and they lost the second, like in this Euros, and ended up winning the third to advance. And now they're playing Wales. It's just like, it's almost the same trajectory, and it's almost the same thing as like their top player didn't come to play, but he did, but he had a heart attack.
That'd be a baker's dozen for me, Bob. The 2021 Euros. Keep watching, everybody. But it's exciting. It's exciting that they're like back.
Yes.
And they're in, the
and
arena again.
almost repeating what they did. I doubt they're going to go and do what they did, but it's a fun watch if anybody's watching.
Definitely.
Hey, everybody. This is just a stock message at the end of every episode. We hope you enjoyed whatever athlete and or team that episode was about. Just want to say, give us a quick follow on all social media. We have a YouTube channel, the Sports Experience Podcast, and we're on Instagram, DiTolla Dominic, and myself, C. Quinn Comedy. So give us a follow all around. We're always recording right here at Engle Studio. Thank you all very much.